now we are in day 2, so we would today, okay. So JavaScript, if I talk about what is JavaScript, in one line if I write, like if someone asks me what is JavaScript, it's a client-side scripting language. Now and JavaScript is purely for the web, that is web related, okay. It is not for any desktop kind of application, it is purely for the web. So if I talk about what is client side and what is server side, I'll give you few examples. In a login page, you have few fields, you have user ID, you have password, and then you have a login button, okay. So there is a lot of logic that has been implemented in the login button. So if you see, there are certain validation checks, like username and password field are mandatory, both should be filled in username or email ID, whatever field. In email ID, @ and other related regular expressions should be implemented. So all these things are taken care in JavaScript. And stretching to client side is something that validating all the things. If I want to describe what is client side validation, so what is client side validation? Okay, validating the requirements before hitting the backend system. What exactly I mean here is, before we hit the backend system, what all validations are required at the UI level, all those validations are client-side validations, and those are purely handled by JavaScript. So this is a very important thing that we have to understand. Okay. Number 2, in JavaScript, the JavaScript which was in 1993 and the JavaScript that has evolved now is phenomenal. It's one of the top 10 programming languages, you can say, but I preferably call it as a scripting language, okay, because JavaScript is a script. From a UI5 standpoint, the logic that you would be writing would be purely JavaScript. There are a lot of inbuilt methods and functions in UI5 which we would be implementing, which are wrapper of that class. What are those? Once we do it, I'll explain you in detail. Okay. Secondly, if you talk about the history of JavaScript, it was started in the year 1993 by company Netscape, and it was a client-side scripting, but it has evolved, so it takes care of server-side also using Node.js and other platforms. Okay, so all these things are taken care by JavaScript. Now, if you talk about any technology, it's an ocean, so we would be focusing on things that matters us the most, so that we are very aligned with our career. Okay, yeah. So if you talk about JavaScript and if you talk about the validations, okay, so it evolved from a scripting and now it takes care of server side like Node.js and all. If you talk about UI5, so in UI5 for all the logic building, JavaScript is only used, okay, and there are a lot of predefined functions and methods which would be predefined functions and methods of UI5 which would be used in the form of JavaScript. How and what it is, I'll explain you in detail, and we would be doing it practically in some time. Okay. So now, like I've told you, every technology is an ocean, so we have to focus on things that matters us the most. So major topics in JavaScript or JS required for UI5 at initial level are as follows. The first thing is, what is JS? That we had a little understanding. What are variables in JS? Then you have what are operators in JS? What are the data types in JS? What are objects in JS? What are arrays in JS? Conditional statements in JS and methods and functions in JS. So these all are the critical things that we should understand from a JavaScript point of view, which is required for UI5 development. Other things, every technology is an ocean. We can directly learn in UI5 based on needs and requirements. Okay. Adding to this, the about topics in JavaScript we would be learning directly in JavaScript, and last two topics we will be learning directly in UI5 because that is better. Like, you would understand why it is better once I teach you. We will be learning directly in UI5. Okay, so above 5 to 6 topics we would be understanding in JavaScript, and then these two topics we would directly jump into UI5. Once these topics are done, I have to give you a detailed project structure about SAP UI5 is. What is SAP UI5? It's MVC architecture, each and everything in detail. Once these things are strongly done, handling any kind of requirement would be very easy, okay? Because I am into this from a longer time, so I can understand that. So what is JavaScript? We had an understanding. Now one of the most important thing in JavaScript is what are variables in JavaScript. We will talk about variables in JavaScript. In any programming language, you have to create variables. Without variables, the survival is not possible. Okay, so guys, regarding the software and all, we will talk later. As of now, it's not required. A quick update on where we would be practicing JavaScript. We don't need any software. We can directly implement it in the Google Chrome itself. And how to do that, I'll guide you. That is my responsibility. Okay, do not worry on that. Okay, so the next thing is variables in JavaScript. So in every programming language or any scripting language, we need to create variables. We need to declare the variables and we need to assign the values to it. Okay, so before we do that, I need to tell you certain rules of JavaScript. There are two major rules that you have to take here. Major rules for JavaScript. Number one, every statement in JS should end with semicolon. Okay, semicolon is called as a termination of statement. If you do not do, it will not stop your application to work. It will work, but it is not the right practice from a best practices point of view. Every statement in JS should end with semicolon. JS is highly case sensitive. Okay, so these are the two important things that you have to understand. Okay, and these things will be implemented in UI5 also from a concept point of view. Okay, so these are the two important rules that you need to understand. Okay, highly case sensitive means it takes care of each and everything. If anything is not written in a proper case, it is not going to work. Okay, fine. So now moving to the next thing, variables in JavaScript. Now we create variables considering the kind of value we have. So we might have to maintain the data type, but JavaScript is so reliable. You just have to create a variable and assign the value. Depending upon the value, it will automatically pick up the data type. We don't have to explicitly take care of that. Okay, this is one of the most powerful thing we need to understand. Okay, so these are variables in JavaScript. We have data types here also, right? So first and one of the most important thing is any variable we create with any data type starts with the keyword var. Adding to this, var should always and completely in small letters, as JS is highly case sensitive. So what is right and what is wrong, I'll tell you those things as well. And in next 2 minutes, we will start with practical examples. So for creating a variable in JavaScript, if you write var, sorry, this is correct. If you write var, incorrect. If you write var, incorrect. So the correct is only the small var, which is highly case sensitive. Okay. All these small things matter a lot. If you attend and listen to this very well, your journey would be extremely smooth. Okay. So guys, understanding all these small things matter a lot. If you're good in this, other things would be very easy for you to drive in. Okay. Now, after this, it is very important for us to understand the data types. Operators, we will do it later because operators would help in conditional statements. Okay. So we will understand the data types. Okay. So we will understand the data types in JavaScript. What are the different data types in JavaScript? So there are three major data types that are used in our application and any kind of requirements are, first is your string, then you have your integer, and then you have Boolean. I'll explain you in detail what exactly these three data types are about. So if you talk about string, I can simply write any hard coded text with single or double quotes, doesn't matter. It is a string, no matter it is a single or it is double. Example is hello world. This is hard coded, or hello world. Okay. Now coming to an integer, or we call it as int, any number with decimals or without decimals. For example, 100 or 10.2 or 14.55 or 16. Any number with any decimal with float, not float, is purely treated as an integer. We will not differentiate it. Okay. This is the second example. We are talking in a layman language so that you can understand it well. Boolean, anything that can return the value in terms of true or false. As simple as that. So Boolean kind of things are very much used in your operators. If this, then this, if this, then this. So in all the conditional statements, Boolean kind of things are strongly used. We have a condition which returns as true. If it is true, it executes the inside code. If it is false, it stops then and there. So this is how the Boolean is treated. This is how these data types are treated. We would have a practical example. Okay. We would have a practical example and we would directly do it in the Google Chrome itself. We don't need any software for it. Okay. So this is my Google Chrome. I'm in my incognito. So, and you can directly open any tab or anything, whatever you have. Anywhere in the page, right click and then click on this inspect button. So you can see this inspect element enabled. So once you have this inspect element enabled, you need to select console tab. I'll add few more things, but that should be little above, I guess. We don't need any software for practice JS. It can be done directly in Chrome by right clicking on the page, select inspect element and then click on console. I'm making each and everything in this detailed document with parallel explanation. This would help you for your future reference in much more easier way. Okay. So this document, like I've told you, each and every day would be updated. So almost 55 pages of you will have a detailed document which would help you to understand things in an easier way. Okay, I think we will go to the practical example then directly. Guys, I believe and I would request nobody to practice anything now. You just understand here. Once it is done, then we would have a detailed discussion on that. So if you want to create a variable in JavaScript, variable in JS, you would use with the keyword var, and now you can see the color has been changed. If I write var, it is not working. If I write var, this is also wrong. But small var, it is changing the color. Yes, it indicates this is correct. Var, I'll give a name equals to single or double quotes. I'll write the name as wage and semicolon for termination of statement. If I do not write, it will still work, but we will be following the best practices. Then we will write name. Whatever variable you have created, it will return the value then and there on the same page. The next thing what we have to do is I'll create another variable where age, just an example, equals to say for example 70 and then semicolon. I will just call the variable name and it will return me the values on the same page itself. Okay, true or false doesn't make sense in assigning the value. Then still if you want where a or b equals to 2, still you can do that. It would return you true or false, as simple as that. Okay, so this is how we assign a value. Now if you want to create a value with single quotes, so where place equals to single quotes, and I can write UK, US, whatever it is, just as an example. And if I write the place again, it would return me this. Okay, it is returning in double quotes, but doesn't matter. At the time of writing the code and execution, single quote will work. You might have a question, what is the difference in single and double quotes? So there are a lot of requirements in which we have to do a lot of concatenation in which single and double are used. So you would be understanding better once we have those examples into place. And adding to this, if you want to add a number with any decimal, like where val or value equals to 10.53 directly, not a problem. Directly you can call the val and it can hold that, not a problem. So it doesn't differentiate it. They have kept it very simple. Okay, so these are very important examples how to create a variables in JavaScript. Just give me 1 second, guys. I have did it practically from scratch. I'll update it in the document for easy reference in future. Example. I'll remove all these undefined. Just give me 1 second. Guys, I can see some messages. Do not worry, I'll give you a chance to ask your questions. So just give me 1 minute. We're almost done. These are how we create the variables in JavaScript as a very simple example point. How to execute this JavaScript? Okay, so there are two questions. Why it is coming as undefined, guys? Because it is very simple. You are initializing a variable here, so it will come as undefined. You can simply ignore. Once this is done, then if this is returning you a value, it means name variable is defined. If this is coming for the first time, because we are trying to create it here, right? So you can ignore this undefined, and once you hit enter, then automatically this is defined. And this was first answer. Second answer is how to execute that. So where, say for example, car equals to BMW semicolon. Once you create this, then you have to press enter key of your keyboard, and then you need to just call your variable. This is how it works out. Okay, so now we have understood how to create variables in JavaScript, and also this is, so I'll give a mark. Done. This would help us for an easier way. Operators are very important concepts. Operators are very important, but I'll explain you what are operators, what are the different kinds of operators we have. And operators are mainly used in the conditional statements. So implementation of those with examples would be directly done in UI5. So I can, I'll explain you now, but I'll make here that directly in UI5. Sorry. Okay. Okay, no worries. Let's understand what are operators in JavaScript. Operators in JS. So if you talk about operators in JS, there are a lot of operators, but what matters is the most, we'll discuss on that. The first is equals to operator. Equals to operator is used for assigning a value to a variable. This is equals to operator, assigning a value to a to a variable. Number one. Then you have double equals to operator, checking or comparing the value of a variable. We also have triple equals to, comparing the value and data type both of a variable. Okay, then we have not operator. Not operator means where we don't want a comparison. I'll explain you this operator once we practically do it. Okay, so there are some examples. So I'll explain you this operator where we practically and directly use it. And then you have not equals to operator, where the condition should not meet up. Okay, so that is one thing. These are the 5 operators as of now. So guys, one thing I just want to tell you, most of you are having careers in SAP ABAP. You're moving into a new language, new platform. One thing what some of the people might do is, see, to be very frank, I'll repeat my statement. Every technology and every platform is an ocean, but we have to choose our specific buckets for ourselves. We don't have to get distracted by seeing so many things here. Everything will take time to learn and understand. So we would go slow and we would focus on things that matters us the most, because having working on the right things is more important than working on things. Okay, so that is very important. So yesterday almost we had a complete detailed introduction for 2 hours. I know it was very important, so we had those detailed discussion. Okay, so not and not equal to, I'll explain you once we do the conditional statements directly in UI5. So that would be better. Actually, I thought this to teach you directly in UI5, but no worries, we can. We had some intro about it. Practical understanding we can do better in JavaScript because we have live controls and we can play around with that. Okay, so that is another thing. Okay, fine. So operators was quite small. I'll move to the next thing. Now object and arrays. These are very critical things. Objects and arrays are heart of JavaScript. Those are almost used in every project and most of the requirements. So we will understand what are objects in JavaScript. JS or JavaScript. So if you talk about objects in JavaScript, so I'll make a note and I'll tell you, objects are something that always consist with a property and value. What is this? Objects are something that always consist of a property and value. This is one of the most important things. It means that, like, if I give you an example, name is property and with is value. Just I'm giving you an example, okay? So this is this is a combination of property, name is property, with is value. So this is a combination of property and value. So objects are something that always consist with a property and value. So this statement means a lot. I'll start with fresh next page. Adding to this, there is second rule. One property can only hold one value at one time. It cannot hold more than one. Okay. Adding to the second rule is, if we add second value on the same property, if we add second value on the same property, it will replicate with the second value. It will replicate with, it will not replicate, it will hold the second or latest value and erase the previous value. This is how it is. At any cost, you cannot inject two values in one single property, that is for sure. Okay, so these are the two important rules once we talk about objects. Now, how do you create an object? Say, for example, if I want to create an object, how to create an object? Okay, how to create an object? A very important thing. This is my Chrome. Here I can directly create an object. Double quotes we write for comments. It is, I think it's a very simple thing, so no need to tell that. Where I'll give a name of the variable as data equals to open and close curly braces semicolon for termination of statement. So we have created an object here and the name of the object is data, open and close curly braces. So this is how you create an object in JavaScript. Okay. Now this is an empty object. How to fill the property and values? I'll tell you. I want to add all the information related to my car. My car is just an example, guys. So name of the car, its price, name of the car, its price, and name of the car, its price, and say for example brand name. Now, how to add these three properties: name, price, and brand. These are the three properties. Okay. So data, I'll create data. Sorry. Dot. I'll create a custom name. I'll create a custom name after this dot. So data dot name equals to double quotes. I'll give the name like Audi Q7 number 1 semicolon for termination of statement. Then data dot custom name of my choice price equals to 40 lakhs 1 2 3 4 5 6 semicolon for termination of statement. Then data dot custom name anything of my choice brand equals to Audi semicolon termination of statement. Last but not the least is data dot color equals to white semicolon termination for statement. This is how you create an object and this is how you fill an empty object. Okay. Adding to this, guys, there are few important concepts that I have to tell you. You can see a circle with a crosshair that is called as clear console. If I click on this, it will clear off my current code. Okay. But before that, I'll just quickly copy this and I'll inject it in my document. Give me just few seconds. steps. Refer below step. Fine. In this document, I'll again go back here. So this is how you create an object in JavaScript. This is how you assign a value to it. Now I have replicated the code. So if I click on this console, this will erase my current code. But will it erase the value and scope of it? Answer is no. If I write data now and press enter, it still holds the value. It means that if I again click and clear it off, it will erase and it will give me a chance to write a fresh code, but it will still hold the value. Repeating it. And this is how you have created an object in JavaScript. Okay. So now the next thing what you have to understand is the data we have created. Now the next thing what we have to understand is if we give a new value, what it is something that it will hold. So data dot price equals to 80 lakhs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Semicolon for termination of statement. Now if I just write data, it holds the new value or the latest value and it has eradicated the old value. We will have one more example. Data dot price equals to 50 lakhs. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Semicolon. Data, it will eradicate all the previous values and hold the latest values, but it will not add more than one value. These are important thumb rules, very important thumb rules. Guys, objects are very important topics and I tried my best to explain in the best way. And this is how you practically use objects. Objects will be used, concept of objects would be used in CRUD operations with OData in future and with all the things. So objects are very, very, very important. So you can see immediate effects.
I have a question. Can we add another variable at this point or?
Yeah. We can add a variable value as well. Say for example, if I write var name equals to Pankaj, just an example, semicolon for termination of statement, data dot, I'll give anything, data dot person name equals to, instead of hard coding, I can directly call my variable, that is name. If you can see above, it holds that. It came in. We can add the values of the variable in the objects. It is flexible enough point.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, my question is like I declared a variable in the beginning of the program, and I was using that variable somewhere in the like 100th line or 200th line. So now I want to know like what was the value of the variable that I declared. So will it be possible like if I double click on it, it will take me back to the place where it was actually declared, something like that?
In Business Application Studio, where we have an option of right clicking and click on go to definition. So once you click on go to definition, it will navigate you the place where it is declared. This is not only for variable, this is for functions and methods as well.
Okay. And how about like do we have any global and local variables or objects?
We do have the concepts of global and local. A brilliant question, I would tell you. This was in my mind, and this we would be doing it in UI5 because we have a lot of scenarios to cover there, right? But look, I really appreciate and thanks for bringing it. I'll take 2 to 3 minutes and I'll explain it right away. Sorry to stop you here. Okay. So anyways, this topic was there in UI5 also, but we will understand here as well. That is called as scope of variable or scope of a variable. So there are two different kinds of variables. Those are created: global variable and local variable in JavaScript. So global variables can be used anywhere in the application. I will refer to the term application here because from a UI5 standpoint, I'll do that. And local variables work or have the scope in the same function itself. Adding to this, how to understand a variable is local or global if answer is if any variable is created with the keyword where is local, if any variable is created directly is global. As simple as that. A practical example where number equals to 10 and here number equals to 20. In this example, this is a local variable, this is a global variable. We would have detailed understanding once we have the applications because these things are used a lot of times. Hello, I hope I have answered your question as of now.
Yeah, Ved, thanks.
Thanks. Okay guys, I'll mute everyone now and I would request everyone to focus here so that we can move to the next topic which is very critical. Okay, but anyways, I'll just make a note of all these points because these are knowledge based. 1 second. Write a note here also. Scope of variable. What is done from a GS point of view, but in UI5 we will have this is a very bigger topic. What are arrays in JavaScript? Okay, so few important rules and things we have to understand. Arrays are like empty buckets. Arrays are like empty buckets. We can dump anything with no limit of quantity. I'm talking in a very layman language so that you guys can understand what arrays are in JavaScript. Okay, so arrays are like empty buckets. We can dump anything with no limit of quantity. Arrays are something, those are executed in the form indexes. Index always starts from 0. These are the 3 important things that we need to understand about arrays. If you can answer these 3 things, you can easily crack any interview. Okay, so this is all about arrays in JavaScript. Okay, so arrays in JavaScript, we will have a quick thing what I have told you. Arrays are like empty buckets. We can dump anything with no limit of quantity, number 1. Then the next thing what you have is arrays are something that are executed in the form of index, and index always starts from 0. Yes, that's true. So these all things are very important. Okay, so if you talk about arrays, these 3 things cover each and everything whatever exactly we wanted to say. And arrays and objects interchange their values. I mean, interchange means they adopt. Arrays can adopt objects, objects can adopt arrays, as simple as that. Now we would do a practical example how to create an array. We would understand few things, and there are few things which are part of assignment. For that you would be given your assignment document. So where I'll create a name where items equals to open close square brackets semicolon for termination of statement. Okay, so where items equals to open close square bracket semicolon for termination of statement. So items is nothing but it's an array here. Okay, we want to add numbers, string, characters, variables, objects, everything we can dump in that. We can add anything in array. How to add? Using the method push. How to, what is the sign of a method? What is the sign of method? It is open, close, and this. Okay, so this is how it works. This is items. So items dot push. I will add a string hello. Okay, sorry, my bad. This came in between. I'll clear this off. So items, it has this array as hello. So again, items dot push. I'll add one more string, that is welcome. It will return me 2 now. Here 2 is nothing but it is the length of my array. So if I give this, it is giving here 2, and these are the 2 items. 2 is nothing but the length. So if I want to check the length, items dot length keyword I will use, and it will return me the length of that. Okay. So this is how we create arrays in JavaScript. Adding to this, we can add anything like name is something that we have. So we can add items dot name. Oh, sorry. I'm at items dot push method, and we can give the value as name here. It will automatically add it up. Items. Yes, we can definitely add an object inside an array. So the name of the object is data. So simple way, items dot push the name of your object, that is data. It would be directly added, and items of this has been added here. This is completely added. Now understanding the indexes. So index always starts from 0. Okay, this is executed right. So if I want to return hello, so how I'm going to write? Items, open, close, square brackets. If I want to return hello, instead of 1, I will write 0 because it is an index, and index starts with 0. So this, for welcome, obviously it will come 1. For this 2, it will return me Pankaj, and 3 will return me this object which is inside my array. And if I want to return any value from my object like price, so items of this dot price will return me the value. This is how you do the fetching of data in an array. Okay, this is a very small example. We have a lot of other things that we would be understanding soon. So this is how we can add an object in an array.